everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. Now it's actually been over a week since I did my last tour with you all, and I apologize that the tour didn't load when it was supposed to. I did not have Wi-Fi the entire time I was gone to the IPPS Southern Region meeting in Mobile, which in some ways was actually kind of amazing. But in other ways, like as in getting work accomplished, was a little bit of a challenge. But I'm excited to show you the garden today. We are still frost free, but we do have some temperatures in the upper 30s in our 10-day forecast. So the garden is going to be transforming very quickly from tropical summer to cool season, whether I like it or not. So let's go take a stroll. So here in the fire pit area, I have a lot of succulents that are going to need to come into my heated shed sooner than later. We've gotten a fair amount of rain, and so I'm going to leave them out until, famous last words, I think until we have temperatures that hit 37. I'm going to pay really close attention because it's of no benefit to let these get kissed by frost. They'll do significantly better if I bring them in before we get too cold. Cubby's the garter here. This is his favorite spot. You can see this container. This is called the Nest from Crescent. I planted this a while ago and the kale is doing great. I'm gonna harvest a bunch of this for dinner tonight. And I overseeded barley in there, and you can see the barley has really grown a lot. I probably planted that a little too densely. That might be like the mantra of my existence. But I really love the backdrop behind it. Those giant bananas are looking great. And, you know, the asparagus could certainly get cut down now. I probably will do that soon. But you could see that self-sown ground cover of arugula is really quite terrific. And another great ground plane coverage plant that I do direct from seed is daikon radish. And this is all daikon right here, this big foliage upright. And you can see the root. And, you know, it's really delicious. I'm going to harvest some of these for dinner as well. Of course, in here, the ground plane is mostly edible. And I was thinking about how I really should write something, maybe not a book, but something, about edible plants as ground cover. Because that's primarily what I do. Like, that's how my Foodscape vision has kind of evolved, is that using seeded annuals or perennial food crops like strawberries to cover the ground, to suppress weeds, to, you know, help reduce water needs, to reduce the need for adding additional mulch. And there's really something to be said about the ease of scattering some seeds and letting things grow. So into the areas that I've already transitioned for the cool season, the feed tank bed looks great. It's always perplexing when you see, like, you see garlic and then there's a little stop, and I'm like, did I skip it? Or is it just slow to grow? I'm gonna be extra cautious and go ahead and plant more in that open area. This desperately needs to be vacuumed. I will do that today. This bed's looking great, and I have a bunch of seeds germinating that I want to go through and ID with you guys because I think it's really helpful. I still feel a little bit rusty at this stage identifying everything, but I think I've got it clear. Okay. So obviously all of that grass, that's all barley. Okay, simple. I believe, you guys, that I have got poppies germinating. And that is this tiny strap-like foliage is poppy. Now, next week at this time, I might say I was wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that is poppy. And then, I believe this is larkspur with the round leaves. You know, right now we're looking at cotyledon leaves, so no true leaves yet. This would also be larkspur here. Now this bigger strap-like foliage, that is bachelor button. And that is pretty distinguishable from the rest. And there's, you know, there's quite a few coming up. So remember, this was direct seeded a little over 2 weeks ago. And did not sow all these poppies. These are self-sown. I really do think these are poppies, but I'll give you an update next week to make sure they are. Hopefully they're not all weeds. I'll show you an area where it's all weeds and I've got to deal with it today. Now, one area that's not doing everything I dreamed of is here. And this was the bed I did last, and everything looks great except for the Ms. America. And that's because when I got these, they were the last that the nursery had, and they had root mealybugs on them. And I was in a hurry and I went ahead and planted them. And look at, look at what's happened. So my vision of these 3 beds being tied together by these beautiful burgundy-leaved mustards is not looking great. But I'm not gonna pull them out because I'm hoping that down here, new growth will flush out and that this is just a temporary setback. In the meantime, I found my Ms. America seed and I'm gonna sow it today so that I could have some backup plants in case this doesn't work out. I debated on doing a video about the root mealybugs and I didn't because, well, I don't really like using pesticides and I didn't want to give you guys bad advice, but here I am showing you the result. Now, last year I got all excited in this bed thinking that all of this was larkspur, and it wasn't. And I need to wait a week and see what it turns out to be. This ended up all being chickweed last year, and I suspect that it might also still be chickweed. I hope that's not all chickweed in that other bed. But time will tell. At this stage, they're so small, it's really easy to conquer, but you don't want to let it go. I let it go last year. That was a huge mistake. And you can see it's all through here. I didn't sow larkspur in here, and there was some from last year, so maybe it's self-sown, but more realistic, this is probably chickweed, which is a problem. I don't grow chickweed on purpose. I grow non-bitter edibles to eat in salads. Chickweed is not what I prefer to eat. But overall, the brassicas are doing well, especially considering they haven't been treated with BT. But that is on my to-do list today. Look at these gorgeous Carolina blue skies, cloudless. It's a really gorgeous day. And I've been really enjoying these late season raspberries. What a treat. There's a little Halloween cat. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm spending Halloween in my garden. That raspberry is delicious. Lots of plants to put in the ground. But over here, I wanted to show you the problem. Oh, the problem. Yeah, that is all bad. I can't remember what its name is, but it's not a good plant. I need to just come in and do this today, get this bed cleaned up. I have some mulch. I think I'm going to go ahead and mulch this bed just to help suppress some of this. I had planned on sowing, poppies and stuff here, but I can always rake the mulch away. In the meantime, I do not want to let a problem plant take over. I know from experience that it's just harder in the long run to deal with. But everything in here is doing great. I'm so impressed with these Escholzia, the California poppy that were sown last year, flowered beautifully in the spring. And these have actually come through the summer. And I've got them in a couple different areas. Of course, this Salvia leucantha, the bees are still just like completely going nuts over it. I mean, it may be hard to see on video, but there are so many bees. It's such a great plant. And it's like a big diversity of bees. Like there's honeybees and bumblebees and everything in between. if you're into pollinators and you live in zone 7 to 9, I'd highly recommend Salvia leucantha. Well, I've started eating seminole pumpkins, and there's so many in here. I don't want to harvest them yet, just because then I won't have any room in my spare bedroom. But see, they're just sort of everywhere. It'll be really exciting to do the big count, and it keeps growing. This vine over here. I know I showed you last week, there's a bunch in here as well. And definitely gonna count this as another success story. It might not be the visual for everyone, but I really like it. I'm not offended at all by these crazy vines growing up everything. It feels very brie. Though my dream of it growing into the peach, the compost peach, by the way, didn't totally come to fruition. That's okay. Last year it was a bit of a challenge getting these out from like 25 foot high. So it's all right. They're all in a manageable area. This Edgeworthia has done really well. It really bounced back from the cold snap that we had in November of 2019. Hopefully we won't have like crazy temperature fluctuations like that, because that can really do a lot of damage, especially when the plants haven't defoliated, which was what happened back then. And this bed, I can definitively show you a lot of different seeds that are going on in here. Okay, so remember I came through and I removed the buckwheat. Well, the buckwheat had self-sown, germinated, and now it's blooming again. I swear I love buckwheat so much. It's just the best filler inner. Now, over here, you see this like ferny foliage right here? That is self-sown Nigella. And I'll tell you what, I believe that's Nigella. I'm pretty certain that is all Nigella as well, all that ferny. And Nigella is so beautiful, and I love that it does self-sow. I actually have Nigella available for sale. I have a bunch of seeds that I'm going to be selling in upcoming workshops. And I should tell you about my upcoming workshops, especially for any of you who are local and want to like come and actually be at them. But the one that I'm doing on Saturday, November 6th, is also, it's virtual and live. So you can attend regardless of where you live. So it's all about direct seeding with these, you know, cool season things that will bloom in the spring. So poppies, larkspur, nigella, bachelor buttons, money plant, all different greens, things like arugula and mustard and kale, grains, specifically wheat, barley, oats. So I think these classes are going to be really awesome. I've actually never done this, and I don't know why I haven't. I've always just done it myself at home, but people are really interested in wanting to explore this idea of covering up their ground with beautiful plants that simultaneously have this kind of cover crop ability to, you know, break through difficult soils. And overall, it's a really beautiful way. It's very low maintenance. It's very inexpensive. So I have a bunch of seeds that will be available for sale during these classes, and everybody who signs up for my Raulston Arboretum class on Saturday, live or virtual, you'll get a free pack of poppy seeds. So I'm including the registration link in this garden tour description, and I hope that you'll consider joining. So I think it's going to be packed full of information. The live virtual part, it's going to be fine. We're going to do an hour of PowerPoint so that you actually will see every single step of the process. And then the second half, we're going to go out into the garden and do it, but we're going to record that part so that the virtual people will still have access to that kind of live in the moment experience. So overall, I think it's going to be cool. I'm trying to, you know, be creative and roll with it, and my main goal is just to get good information that is useful for people out there, and it may be that is a better example than me, you know, time-lapsing myself doing this in my own garden. Anyhow, I hope you'll consider it, because I think that I think these classes are going to be awesome. I have another one of those workshops that's live only in the middle of November in Charlotte at Winghaven. So I've been contemplating doing one here for a live class in December. I've just gotta check my schedule and make sure that it'll work out. But I have next Saturday, well, actually like 6 days from now, and the middle of November, currently booked for audiences. So I hope you'll consider joining us. And it's really funny, the deer have been very active and they are still eating tomatoes. I can't blame them. If I was a deer, I'd eat tomatoes too. They've also been busy eating the last big peanut clump. I was hoping to get some pictures of that camellia in bloom. You can see lots of flower buds with the peanut, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and harvest the peanut today because it's sunny and not raining. We've had, you know, we're getting into our kind of gray rainy season, and that makes curing root crops more difficult, including sweet potatoes. I'm not ready yet to undo the arch. I love it too much. I can't help it. But I am going to tackle the front border of sweet potatoes this afternoon because I want to get the bulbs planted. But honestly, this one's probably gonna get frost kissed because I love it too much. I can't undo it. It's definitely my favorite thing about 2021. And this border continues to look amazing, and it's been literally zero maintenance. All of these plants, minus like 1 or 2 coleus, are all perennial now. So I kind of miss the being able to change it, make it look different, but you know, I love all these plants. I love that they do their job. And of course the candy corn Kufia is in its full glory. And today I'm going to start tackling containers. I don't think I'm going to undo those two. It's because I'm still really charmed, and I'm actually getting quite a few tomatoes still from this one. That's a cream sausage tomato, which is like a yellow Roma. And these ones aren't quite ripe, but you know, there's a lot of fruit still on here. I have a shocking amount of tomatoes still. But one thing I am going to tackle, I'm gonna undo the wall. Aiden's actually gonna be here tomorrow after school because football is over, and he's gonna help me get that all replanted, and I am gonna replant these large containers. When I came home from Mobile, I noticed for the first time that, you know, this border was starting to get out of shape, and that's good because I get really emotionally attached and I don't want to change them. And it's good that it's starting to look a little ragged so that I'll be motivated to change it. I'm not gonna rush it. All of this can get frosted with no problem. My plan is to dry store the Caucasian banana, and of course harvest as many ripe peppers from here. This is the Tabasco pepper, and there's like 1 million peppers on it, but most of them are yellow. They're really hot, but I think they'll make good sauce. Of course, my favorite combo right now is this kind of salmon colored dahlia, get that tuned in, with the senna behind it. And I love this senna. I'm so glad it finally did bloom. I wish it would bloom earlier so we could have enjoyed it longer, but it's such a beautiful plant. And that is the border of sweet potatoes that I'm going to undo today. you know, I love it. I wish I could keep it forever, but that's not reality. And I do want to cure these sweet potatoes properly so they can be eaten. So I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off and pull this out and get it replanted with a whole bunch of bulbs that I have stored in my shed that arrived here like a week and a half ago. So that'll be another video for all of you to see me going through the process of tearing out summer that definitely pulls on my heartstrings. This border is definitely kind of driving me crazy. It looks not 100%, but I'm gonna wait. This is one that I definitely want to sow on Black Friday, so I might get it cleaned up sooner than later, but I'm not gonna plant it. But I have a whole bunch of cushaw squash to harvest, and they are really delicious. I've been eating them now pretty regularly. I'm gonna, you know, leave as many as I can out here so that they have the longest storage life. I have not figured out what this is, and there's more than one. I don't see the other ones, but there is more than one of those. But yeah, you can see this border is definitely past its prime. Cool nights are kind of making the foliage diminish, but the whole point of these delicious squash, they are filling and wonderful. So it is mum season, and I fancy myself to be a little bit of a mum collector. I love these teeny tiny ones. I've got this pink one that I call Jason's grandma, and then I don't remember the name of this one, but it's cute. It's just starting to bloom. And you know, the goal with this bed, this whole border, is to have, you know, a tree and shrub layer with herbaceous perennial ground cover. And it's pretty well achieved. There's a few spots that I could fill in, but overall I'm really pleased with the general lack of maintenance that this bed requires. This bed is definitely mum land. All of these are, you know, hardy perennial, spreading, kind of old-fashioned garden mums. I don't know where you can buy them. You just have to keep your eyes peeled. These are obviously not the round basketballs that all the garden centers sell. I wish that more garden centers would carry these kinds of things that are very practical. That Calicarpa acuminata is so beautiful. I love these super dark berries. It's truly extraordinary. This is native to Mexico, and it's a dieback shrub, so it dies to the ground every year and then grows out. Now I see a lot more stuff germinating in here, and again, this is all Nigella. Well, Nigella and vetch. This is vetch, common vetch, which is a bad plant. However, it fixes nitrogen. See those little nodules? It's not desirable by any means, but it does have a function. Vetch is probably my worst winter weed, but this is all self-sown Nigella. So when you start seeing things self-sow, that's a pretty good indication that the soil temperature is right for you to be able to start sowing in general. So I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity and do some seeding today, which I'll include in another video. And here we are in the neighborhood entry where there's all kinds of bad stuff happening. First of all, nutsedge. Stupid nutsedge. Also, huge amounts of vetch. Vetch as far as the eye can see. Solid ground cover of vetch. Because of course. And I'm on the lookout for poppies. Or this is the first area that I sowed poppies in. And, well, there's a lot of stuff happening in here, but I don't see poppies. Maybe that tiny strap-like. I think most of what's growing in here is vetch. Ugh. What a nightmare. Of course, lots of buckwheat growing. Buckwheat's so reliable. I'm really grateful that I started growing that. And the daikon radish that I sowed at the same time as the poppies is doing wonderfully. You see, it's just a solid ground cover. I'm gonna go ahead and harvest these peanuts today. Go ahead and put them out right now, actually. Oh, they are really, really well rooted. Ta-da! And get this one on the side. But let's just check to see if there's any poppies happening over here. I do see larkspur, which I swear I might be misidentifying some of my seeds, but I know larkspur is out here. And so you can see a couple things going on here. Larkspur has this like longer, like more oval strap like cotyledon, and then this 3-prong real leaf, true leaf. And this is bachelor button, and you can kind of tell because it's more gray and it's kind of furry. And here's some more mature, that's a more mature bachelor button. And this is the crimson clover that I sowed for winter interest or cool season interest. Now, all of this is that like lamb's quarter? That's not desirable. And of course, there's a billion vetch in here. Golly, vetch. But good daikon radish ground plane coverage. And let's see over here. Nothing is striking me as poppy. It's very disappointing. Now I'm definitely questioning my poppy ID in my garden. So far I say no germination. Well, I'm wishing you all a happy and safe Halloween. And I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour. I look forward to giving you an update next week. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.